Hi, it's a beautiful autumn day. I'm going to do a sketch of these absolutely glorious trees that are in their peak of color. If you've never seen me before, my name is Jason Tako. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I want to thank you. So let's get started here. I'm going to brush in an approximate blue. A lot of times I like to start first with the foreground colors, but to get some of this blue in here first. I'm going to recompose and change these trees a little bit from what they look like. If you look at them, they're the same height in the reference photo. Fairly similar shapes, so I'm going to take some liberty to adjust them and some kind of drawing approximate shapes of what these trees will be like. So make the composition a little bit more interesting. And I don't know if that's the exact blue sky color, but you can see I added a lot of white. Speaking of titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium orange, permanent orange. And I usually don't use permanent orange, but since we're dealing with some fairly intense colors, permanent orange does not neutralize as much when you add it to white as does regular cadmium orange. It keeps its intensity. I have some Indian yellow, same thing. Should probably add these switch, but that looks like a darker value. And this one does not lose its intensity nearly as much when you add white to it as well. Transparent red oxide, Venetian red, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cerulean, and viridian. So let's get this wiped off here. And first thing is I want to establish relationships of color and value between my approximate sky and my trees. First, I'm going to put in what looks like the dark of the trees, and it's a little elusive because it's not nearly as dark as you would think. This is mostly front lit, which is not technically a recommended way to paint the subject. Usually, if you read like Edgar Payne and them, they talk about having, 3/4 front lit, 3/4 back lit. But the color just looks so wonderful like this. So I'm going to break the rules today and see if it works out. I did this once last year and it actually worked out pretty good. But who knows, I might be humbled today. I have a feeling as we go, the sun is going to swing over here, which means we're going to have maybe a touch of dark on this side before we finish up. So I might just favor the dark on this side of the trees just a bit. With the scene, whenever you're painting a scene, you want to ask yourself, what your objective is. My objective is just to get that incredible color. It's so fleeting. It's been windy the last few days. This color might last for a few days, and then all these leaves will be gone, and you won't see this for another year. I'm going to have an opening in there. I should have brought that blue down. Then having this another smaller tree going up there. Okay, I think I'm going to block in an approximate dark for all these trees. I see a little bit of green right in there. When dealing with intensity, I like to start with more neutral colors and then build up to intensity rather than starting with really intense colors. Oh, you know what color I forgot? Shame on me, yellow ochre. I gotta get that on my palette. Okay, so I just shifted these colors over and put the yellow ochre right there. Gonna scrub in an approximate color for the ground plane of these soybeans. That should be a bit lighter in value, I think. Okay, most of the white of the canvas is covered. Let's get in a little bit more of that blue. Which is actually gonna get a little lighter and greener as it gets down toward the horizon. Okay, I'm gonna mess it up a bit. Two reasons for this. Thins the colors out. I don't want any impasto paint right now. Gets it thinner, spreads it out a little bit so I don't have a paint by number feel as I go here. Now, I think to get anything gauged in well, I need to get some really dark darks down in here at the bottom of the tree. It's basically a kind of an ambiguous black, but it's not a super dark black. I might put this, I'm going to put a little pine in here, but I might stick this over a bit more. I don't like how that's merging right up with the edge of that tree there. I'm not a huge stickler of composition when I'm out here. I'm really trying to gather more color information, but I did do a little sketch of things before I started, because if I ever want to turn this into a studio painting, if I can work out a bit of an idea while I'm out here, that'll look cool. Then when I'm back in the studio, I have more of a more likelihood that I can work out a nice painting. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, I do the first 20 minutes or so of the video for the YouTube public, and then the rest is reserved for my Patreon supporters. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, click on the link below. I also teach online workshops, but the online workshops, I'm going to start giving priority to Patreon supporters first to join that. But $5 a month. I post usually about 2 videos a month. You can watch them from start to finish without any commercials. So I'm starting to build up to the intensity a little bit. We go from ambiguous, more ambiguous color and value to more specific. And it's really just a series of testing things out at this point. You don't paint stuff, you paint shapes of color and value. And you gauge an approximate of what those shapes of color and value are, and you put them on your canvas and you test them out with what's already there and ask yourself, does this work? Is this going more the direction of how things look or further away? And really only two things can be wrong at this stage. I'm not fussing about drawing right now. I got a little bit of drawing, but it's more just, I'm just really trying to keep it simple and only focus on color and value. And is it getting closer or further away? And I'm starting with the darks. So now that I have some pretty decent darks established in here, I'm going to knock those down with a brush so that we don't have as much glare on them. And now when I look at this compared to these darks, it's not as light and colorful as what I'm seeing it there. So we got to make it more light and colorful. And what's going to get us there, I'm not entirely sure. It's a soybean field, so it's a little bit ambiguous. But let's try that. How does that look? Not bad. Not too shabby. See, that Indian yellow really intensifies things. It might be too much. Let's go with a little Venetian. But it might be just what we need too. So that's an example of keying in. So I'm not thinking soybeans, just thinking what is an approximate color and value in relationship to this dark here. And in relationship to the blue sky. So we're one step closer now to getting our relationships established. Now with that, I'm going to key in a little bit of that intense orange in the trees and see what we get there. So I'm going to start out with cadmium red or cadmium orange. And we'll do a little bit of cadmium yellow. I'll put some ochre into that. So I'm not going to go super intense right away. So that seemed a little dark, so let's go in a little bit more yellow. That's not bad. So it's still not jumping out quite as much as I would maybe like it to, like it looks in the scene there. So let's go even more intense. So I'm going to leave off the ochre a bit and go more at the straight cadmiums now. Squinting my eye at the scene as I look at it. Let's try a little bit of this. It's not bad. I'm a little suspicious of it. Now I want to try it in conjunction or in comparison with the sky up here. It seems to taper off a little bit and get maybe a little darker in value. Maybe not. That might be too much. At least in the one tree, it might be too much. But it's closer, so I'm going to start sticking this in, knowing that I'm going to have to adjust this probably as I go. Over here we get a little more of a russet red on this tree on this side. The other thing, another option I have too, is to adjust the value of my sky. The value of my sky is a little bit dark. And if these trees are not popping out as much, see what happens is the more intense you go with the color, usually the darker the value gets. And if you keep getting darker with the value, it's might not look, you'll lose the intensity of the color. But that sky color is really popping out there in really intense blue. But the value, I think, is lighter. So I think I have to rekey my sky a bit. So I'm going to take quite a bit of white, clean pure white, and clean pure cobalt. I'm going to stick that right in there. And see if that gives me what I need. Can make it with a little more cobalt, and I'm going to put in a bit of cerulean too. I think that is helping. So this is keying in, where you're not trying to finish one subject and then move on to the next. So you don't like finish your sky, then move on to your trees and paint them, and then move on to your ground and paint that. Because you don't know if the relationships between them are correct, are good. The trees might be too light, they might be too dark. You know, something else might need to be adjusted. So I'm going to put in some adjustments on this sky, and now I'm going to go back to here and test the intensity of that out and see if I can get this looking good in relationship with that. Let's try a little bit of our CAD, our permanent orange. Which is going to maintain a bit more intensity. It's not too bad. See, we're going to put our pine right in there maybe. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for the YouTube public. If you want to see me complete this painting, I still got quite a ways to go. Become a Patreon supporter. Click on the link below. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. And hopefully we'll see you on the other side.